Welcome to Brain Chat with the Nerdy Neurologist. I'm Dr. Mitzi Joy Williams, and I'm your board-certified neurologist and MS specialist. My mission is to engage, educate, and empower those affected by MS to become an active part of their healthcare team. Here on Brain Chat, we'll be talking all things MS, health and wellness, advocacy, and we'll throw a little bit of music and music therapy in there as well. Thank you so much for joining us, and stay tuned for the next episode. Happy Monday! Welcome to Brain Chat. Hello to all of my friends out there in Facebook and YouTube land. It's Dr. Mitzi, your board certified neurologist and MS specialist. And I have a treat for you tonight. I know that every time we're on a Monday, I say that, but I'm really serious this time. This show is going to be so fun. We're going to be talking about exercise and fitness and brain health, which is not only important for MS, but is important for everyone. So I can't wait to dig in. You guys know the drill. When you log on to Brain Chat, type in the chat where you are logging in from and let me know where all of my viewers are from. I bid you greetings from Atlanta, where it's kind of rainy and dreary, but we have the sunshine going on in here. So I'm looking forward to us having a great show tonight. So just log into the chat where you're from. I've got two action-packed, amazing guests with me tonight. And I'm going to read you their bios in just a few minutes. All right. I see somebody is logging in from Baton Rouge, somebody from Vegas. Oh, I'm so jealous. All of my friends are going to Vegas this past weekend. I see New Jersey, South Carolina, Jersey, Bronx born. All right. The boogie down Bronx, Bermuda. I was just talking to somebody about Bermuda the other night, how I love Bermuda and I want to go back. I see someone from Cincinnati, Panama, Rhode Island, Phoenix, St. Petersburg, Trinidad, and Tobago. All right, so we are rocking. We are international tonight, and we are going to have a great time. So let me start by introducing my guests. All right, and I see someone from Plano, Texas, Columbia, Rhode Island. Okay, we are rocking. All right, so let me introduce my guest tonight, and this is going to be such a fun show. You guys are going to love it. We are talking about exercise, and we are talking with Miss Lauren Powers and Dr. Gretchen Hawley. All right, so let's start off by introducing Lauren. Lauren is a 7-figure business marketing coach that helps doctors, dentists, and small business owners not suck at business, which is extremely important. She's the president of Microsite Digital Marketing Agency, and she is responsible for a lot of the amazing things you see me doing on social media. She is founding and running one of the largest gyms in Atlanta for over a decade. That's how we originally met. And marketing capacity for 7 Fortune 100 healthcare organizations and supporting over 100 startups. And she is coaching entrepreneurs to success. She's a graduate of Spelman College here in the AUC. And she is also a celebrity fitness coach working with Dr. Heavenly Kimes, Headcrack, and Rashawn Ali. She has over 19,000 Instagram followers. She's been in Rolling Out Health magazines, Bossa, BlackDoctor.org, Essence, Upscale, and she had recurring appearances on TV One's Sister Circle Live. Let's welcome Lauren.
Hi, Dr. Mitzi.
Great chat.
I need you to do my intros all the time. Like, that was the best. Thank you. I was like, is that me? Thank you.
Awesome sauce. All right, let's bring up Dr. Gretchen. She's a doctor of physical therapy and MS certified specialist. Her work focuses on MS specific exercises to help her clients improve strength, mobility, and independence. She shares her expertise in her online MS wellness program, The Missing Link. Oh, that's super cute. And uses social media to create more awareness around neuroplasticity exercises that can help improve the quality of life for individuals living with MS worldwide. All right, welcome, Dr. Gretchen.
Thank you for having me.
awesome sauce. So listen, we are going to have so much fun. These are two of my favorite people to talk about exercise, right? So, one of the reasons that I wanted to talk about exercise and physical therapy is because it's so extremely important to people with chronic diseases like multiple sclerosis. And not just in the sense, we all know we should exercise. We all know we should keep our body moving, that it's good for our health. But there's so many benefits for our brain health from exercise. And so I really wanted to highlight this tonight and kind of talk about some of the benefits for our brains, but also for our bodies out, with for those living with multiple sclerosis outside of just, helping our cardiovascular health. But before we do that, I want you each to tell us a little bit about yourself. And then we will get into some of these questions. Guys, remember, if you have any questions, you can always put them in the chat, and we will try to address them toward the end of the program. All right. Okay. So, Lauren, why don't you kick us off and tell us a little bit more about yourself, maybe something that wasn't in your amazing bio, and about the importance of fitness to you.
I like to play piano, so there you go. That's in there. But
what's fitness musician?
Yeah, right. Exactly. What's not on there? We didn't really talk about, kids and, with staying active. I mean, Dr. Minty, you know how active our children are. They are 5 and 8 years old. And I run around after them pretty much all day long. So I'm a mom first. And my husband is a strength coach. So I always like, mentioning that as well. We're kind of just in the world of wellness and fitness, from the time we wake up to the time we go to sleep. So I think you had me covered. And I've been in Atlanta for 20 years. So
awesome sauce. Awesome sauce. All right, Dr. Gretchen.
Yeah, so I am from the Western New York area, so right around Buffalo, New York. And I actually went to school in Boston. And it's funny because I remember on my very first day of PT school, one of our professors said that Boston, Massachusetts, has the highest retention rate of students coming and staying. And I remember thinking, well, that won't be me. I'm definitely going to go back to Buffalo. But I stayed for 9 years, and PT school is only 3 additional years. So I loved Boston, moved back to Buffalo about a year ago. And I would say fitness and just movement has been a part of my life always. My parents were big advocates for it. So we were in all the different sports. And even now as an adult, I try to exercise, but even when I'm not doing a workout program per se, I'll still go for walks or I'll try to go for a hike. And I try to fit exercise in other ways versus just going to the gym or doing something at home.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's talk kind of in general. So let's kind of take a broad lens first, and then we'll focus a little bit more closely on MS. But let's talk about some of the benefits of just exercise, right? Movement as medicine, right? I've heard a lot of people talk about this. Let's talk about the general benefits of movement and exercise in our everyday lives.
Sure. I can kind of jump in with that. I don't think I truly understood, respected, and realized the importance of movement until I was kind of forced to sit down in the past year. And I work remotely for what I do every day. And when I was thrown out of that routine because I had to stay home, we were sheltering in place and doing all those things, I noticed that it was hard for me to get rid of my brain fog sometimes in the morning because I didn't have my normal routine of waking up and moving. My legs started to swell because I would be sitting more than I was before. I'm like, wait a second, what's happening? My posture started to change because I was so stationary. I wasn't using the same go muscles that I'd be doing. I'm not even talking about exercising, but just movement.
Right.
And I would say that in all of the things that we do daily, whether they, when you eat breakfast, you do this, we need to make sure that movement of some way is a part of our day, just as much as, as I live and breathe, as my grandmother would say. It needs to be that routine. And I kind of lost that when I was forced to sit down, and it was hard to get back into that routine.
Absolutely. And that's such a great example because, I have so many patients that have been coming in to see me, who said, Dr. Mitzi, since this pandemic hit, I used to go to the gym, a couple times a week. And now, I'm having a lot more stiffness. I'm having these problems because I wasn't able to do that exercise. So, it's not only important to move it, it's important to continue to move it, and people have had to be really creative in the ways that they have, been working and trying to exercise because of the pandemic and everybody being shut inside. Do you have any thoughts on that, Dr. Gretchen, about just kind of the benefits of exercise in general?
Yeah, I mean, just in general, more of that broad scope. I think a lot of people exercise typically just to get stronger, to lose weight, to tone up. And that's absolutely a good reason to exercise too. But, movement can also be exercise. And I have some tips on that for later. But staying consistent with exercise also helps with consistency overall. And that's a big thing that people forget about too. And your mindset around exercise too is something that can help you stay consistent to actually get results, whatever that means for you, whether your results is losing weight or standing up better from the ground, something a little bit more functional. So I think exercising, we all know, is good, but staying consistent at it is equally as important.
Absolutely. Now, so we kind of talked about it in the broad sense, but let's talk about exercise more specifically related to MS. So, one of the things that I think is very important for people to recognize when they're living with multiple sclerosis is that exercise helps actually a lot of symptoms of MS. Things that I like to talk to my patients about or counsel them about are, exercise can help with weakness in some cases. It can help with spasticity or tightness of the muscles, which I say comes in a couple of different flavors. Sometimes people have tightness where it feels like a rubber band. Sometimes people actually kick, because they have spasms that, cause them to kick. And then some people have spasms that are like a soreness or like a Charlie horse, so it can often help those types of symptoms. Also, exercise helps constipation. So if you need to get moving, you need to get moving, right? So getting moving helps you move. And then also, depending on what type of exercise you do, it can also help with fatigue. And it can also help with depression. Exercise is actually a mood booster. So, let's focus, let's talk about fatigue and depression. How does exercise help those types of symptoms, or what are the benefits of exercise related to those symptoms?
So one thing that I think is so important to understand about how exercise helps fatigue is that most of the time that you're feeling fatigued, it's often because your muscles are working so hard because they're weak. And so other muscles are overcompensating. And when those muscles that are overcompensating fatigue, you have no backup supply of strength because you haven't been strengthening and exercising. So I hear all the time from my clients that sentences like, why would I exercise? I can't even get out of bed. I'm so fatigued. So it seems counterintuitive to exercise when you're feeling fatigued or knowing it's going to cause fatigue. But there are different ways that you can exercise just throughout the day or just in very light ways that you might not even think of as exercise, but just these slow, light movements can help reduce fatigue and build up the strength in those smaller muscles, so that when your bigger, stronger muscles fatigue, you've got this backup supply. And overall, you have more endurance, more energy, and you can go for longer when you're doing what you're doing, whether it's walking to a different room or walking around the block or to your mailbox. So I think strengthening the right muscles is very important in improving fatigue and endurance.
Absolutely. And so what about actual fatigue, and how about boosting the mood? So Lauren, tell us a little bit about how exercise can be a mood booster.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. The endorphins and the happy neurotransmitters in your brain that start to activate and wake up and tell you that you're doing a great job. To me, that is probably one of the most important pieces when you're in any sort of exercise program. And we're not talking about, lifting, Dr. Mitzi, how I like to lift. I love lifting 300 pounds off the floor or putting it on my back.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
I'll do it in a second. you don't have to be a power lifter or anything, but you definitely need to move your body in such a way that it gets excited enough to get those happy neurotransmitters moving. There's a rush that you experience when you release, and there's some energy shifting that happens. So, you may not want to put 300 pounds in your back like I do. I love it. But a walk outside in the sun, there's the combination of the vitamin D and the mixture of your heart rate getting up. It just works and creates this beautiful melody on really happiness. Honestly, it's like, even though you may hate your trainer, you really love them.
No, we don't love them. We don't
really
love
want to
them.
say thank you. That's why your heart and your brain is saying thank you, Dr.
We
Mitzi,
don't want to
right?
say thank you.
Right.
We don't want to say thank you. Lauren trained me like 2 times, and I was like, no way, Jose. Like, she goes all the way. She goes all the way.
I love it.
But it's so important. And I think, one of the things that is so empowering about exercise is that oftentimes when people are diagnosed with MS, they feel helpless, right? They say, Dr. Mitzi, oh my gosh, I have this condition. What can I do to help myself, right? So everyone wants to know kind of what are the natural things that I can do, outside of taking medicine. I am an advocate for people taking medicine for their MS, but also, I do believe that it's important that they do the work themselves to help improve their overall health. And exercise, in whatever form it is for you, is extremely important to improving your brain health, but also something that you can do to help with some of those symptoms of MS, aside from taking other medications that can help with some of those symptoms. So, I think it's really important. So fatigue and mood boosting are hugely important. And Dr. Gretchen, you touched on something that I'd like to circle back to. So when we think about exercise, what you said was something about, how, light movements, at certain points of the day can help. And Lauren, you also said that, you don't have to lift 300 pounds on your back. I think one of the other challenges is that we have this vision in our mind of what exercise is, right? With the advent of social media, with the advent of, all of these YouTube videos, you see everybody is in these like swimsuit contests and everybody's so buff and everybody's got their outfits on, matching, gym leggings and Peloton outfits, and they're working out for an hour and saying how much they did. But oftentimes when people have disability or changes in their ability related to MS, they can't necessarily do those things that they used to do. So how do we think creatively about the way that we do exercise? Like, how can we reframe our thinking to say, okay, so maybe it's not an hour on the treadmill and an hour lifting weight. What can I do that would qualify as exercise that may not involve me kind of being in the gym for 2 or 3 hours?
I can jump in real quick because I think I completely agree with you that we do need to change the way that we perceive fitness to be. And right now it's a very pretty glamorous, little, it's just a glamorous thing that just may not be reality. In fact, I always wonder how these people look so perfect all the time. Like, did you do anything? Did you sweat? Did you care more about the outfit than the actual program? But right. I think what we should do is kind of set small goals. It really is recommended that you work out 30 minutes. When you're doing something for an hour and a half, 2 hours, there's no way to stay at a high capacity for no hour to 2 hours, right? So I would just set a small goal of 30 minutes. And if you're struggling with some sort of movement, focus on that. Focus on, like, if you are it takes you a long time to stand up after sitting down, maybe we need to do some things to strengthen our legs today. Maybe we'll do some squats today. It doesn't take any equipment, it doesn't take any gym. If you're feeling unbalanced, maybe today is a good day to hold on to the back of a chair and do something with the weaker side, like, picking up things and standing back up. I mean, I know Dr. Gretchen, I know you probably got all the ideas, but I was just thinking of something so basic. 30 minutes, a couple times a week, set that small goal and reward yourself when you actually do achieve it, not with cookies and ice cream, but with
darn, no cookies and ice cream.
No,
oh,
sorry.
Darn, shucks. Yeah. So I think, again, reframing the way that we look at it, right? We can exercise at home. I remember a time even pre-COVID where I had a friend and she would do those walking videos where you just walk in place, like you walk a mile in place. Now I can't quite get with that. That bores me to death. But all of that to say, there are ways that we can exercise, use our body weight instead of weights. There are lots of different things that we can do when we don't necessarily have the equipment, or we don't necessarily have access to the gym. Now, I also think it's extremely important for people to participate in physical therapy at certain points in their course with MS, especially if they have changes in their gait, if they're off balance. I'm a huge advocate of physical therapy. So, Dr. Gretchen, tell us a little bit about the benefits of physical therapy and what physical therapy is supposed to accomplish.
Yes, I love that question because there's a big difference between exercise and whether it's gym or at home and physical therapy. And even if you go to physical therapy, there's a big difference if it's an orthopedic physical therapist versus an MS specialized PT. So the biggest difference that I can explain right now is that you want the exercises to be functional. So as Lauren was just saying, practicing standing up from the ground or standing up from a lower surface. I can't tell you how many times I had people who went to an orthopedic PT and they were doing exercises, and you guys can let us know on here if you've done these, but like the clamshell, the straight leg raise, the side lying leg raise, and those are fantastic orthopedic exercises. I love them, and they definitely have their time and place, but they build up so much strength there, and then they go to stand up, and that hip strength is just gone. Lying down, they've got it, but standing, they don't. So they're stronger, but it doesn't help their walking, or it doesn't help their function day to day. So one thing that I like to do for all of my clients, and I educate this on social media all the time, but the best way to do a functional exercise is to do the thing that's hard. So if standing up from the toilet is hard for you to do because it's a low surface, well, then maybe that's a little bit too low to start with, and you can pick a surface at home that's a little bit higher, but practice standing up and then sitting down without plopping. It's nice and slow. Or if getting up from the ground, we've been using that option, or getting into and out of the car, stair climbing. There's things that we do day to day that a lot of people take for granted, but when you have MS, those things make perfect functional exercise. So that's at least how I treat my clients and how I would suggest training in order to improve function versus just getting stronger, but you're not walking better or you're not making your day-to-day activities a bit easier.
Absolutely. I love that. So the goal is improving function. And when I refer people to physical therapy, I usually tell them I'm trying to accomplish one of two things, right? So either there is something functional that we're trying to improve, whether it is balance, walking, weakness, etc. And the goal is always for you to be assessed, get a certain number of exercises or certain types of exercises, and then do those at home, right? So, in a perfect world, I could send people to PT forever, but there's this thing called insurance and the visits run out. So sometimes we can't stay in PT, but the goal is always for you to continue outside of PT, whether that's going on to get a trainer at the gym or what have you. But the goal is always for you to do the exercises. And then the other big reason is if we need some type of walking assistive device. So can we talk a little bit about, needing assistance to walk and kind of taking away that stigma from having to use a cane or a walker? Because I tell folks, it's probably not the most fashionable. I'd rather you be with a cane or a walker than to be on the ground having people picking you up. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So I get the question a lot of how do I know when it's time to use a walker or a cane or anything, trekking poles? And the advice I typically give is, number one, if you're feeling unsteady frequently or even at all, but especially frequently, that's a dead giveaway that you should probably start thinking about using one of the devices. But another thing is how frequently you're touching the walls. We call that wall walking, or touching the furniture, which we call furniture walking. And I love educating on that because I have a lot of people who don't realize they're doing it. I will approach a new client in the physical therapy clinic out in the waiting room, and I'll have them walk down to the PT room, and I'm walking behind them, and I see them the entire way touching the wall. And then we get into the office and I say, okay, do you ever touch walls as you're walking? And they'll say, no, never. And so they don't even realize. So I like to bring that awareness so that you can pay attention if you are reaching for things. And if so, that's another dead giveaway where you should use something. Again, it can be one trekking pole or maybe two or one cane or whatever is going to be easiest for you. And I actually, as a physical therapist, I prefer even doing exercises with an assistive device lightly. So I'm a huge advocate for not putting too much weight through it. We don't want to train your body that you need it, but you can likely have better quality with your exercises and with your movements when you do use the assistive device. So that if you ever don't need it, maybe you don't need it all the time, you can then have better quality movement then as well. So it can be used for both, for walking and exercise.
I love it. And talking about stability, another type of exercise that I'm a huge proponent of, and I'm going to rope you back in here, Lauren. Let's talk about yoga. So I'm a huge advocate of yoga for all of my patients, even the fellas. Most of the time, the fellas kind of look at me crazy when I say do yoga. But I love yoga because I feel like it has a variety of benefits. So I feel like it helps with balance and stability, which is, something that's a huge issue for people with MS. The other thing that I love about yoga is that there's a level for everyone. So I tell people, if you can twist your leg around your head, great. If all you can do is stand with your feet together, that's something that you can practice. So I love that there's so many different levels and ways that you can take up and challenge yourself, but also ways that can be very simplistic for you to help work on your balance. And then the other thing is that I also love the benefit that it helps people to kind of calm their minds, right? Anxiety is a huge issue with MS, a huge issue for all of us, right? In the past year or so, we've all had a lot going on. And so, Lauren, talk a little bit about the benefits of yoga and how that may help someone with a chronic disease or with balance difficulty like MS.
Oh, absolutely. So you covered really a lot of the really good ones. What I love about yoga is that it's those slow and controlled movements. They build so much strength in the major areas that we need, which is usually like our neck, our back, our spine, our legs. And as you, there's progressions to things. So I love that with yoga, and I'm not a yoga teacher, but I am definitely an advocate. You know, when you're trying to do an upward dog, or if you're trying to do like a warrior position, there is a step one that builds onto step two. It builds onto step three. And I notice how you said that calms people down. I actually need yoga in my life, but I can't calm down enough to do it. I can't turn my phones off and all the noise, and center myself, to focus on myself, to listen to my breathing. I know, Dr. Mitzi, you always say to be your own advocate, and you empower people to know basically about their body, so they know when things are wrong and when they need to get medical help. When you're in yoga, you're focused only on your body. And you are breathing in. You can feel, the breaths go in and out. You can feel your spine lengthen. You can feel your belly fill up with air. You can feel things to know when they feel good and when they don't feel good. And I think it's so important to reconnect, get in tune with your body. And like you said, with yoga, it builds. So you probably don't need to start out with power vinyasa flow, which I did because I'm crazy. I went in there thinking
you are.
It was going to be easy.
Are.
Oh, okay. They had me do that second plank, and I was holding it for 2 minutes. I said, oh, this is the real thing, vinyasa power yoga. So I would probably start with like a gentle flow. And they have tons of like free resources and things on TV, and add that, if that's another goal that you're trying to make to get more active, maybe one yoga class a month, maybe just one that you find on YouTube,
Absolutely. And talk a little bit about adaptive yoga, Dr. Gretchen. One of the other things I think is so cool about yoga is that there's so many different types of yoga. Like I've seen yoga for tired, burnt out mommies, where you just kind of lay on the floor and do shavasana, right? Or yoga for sitting on the plane. When I have an international flight, you could do yoga sitting in your chair. So let's talk about also there are forms of adaptive yoga for people with certain difficulties or differences in their abilities.
Yes, my favorite thing as a PT is adapting exercises, any exercise, yoga or otherwise, but specifically with yoga, not only are there a lot of different positions, as Lauren mentioned, and Dr. Mitzi, where you can just change the position that you're in, but there's also different ways to do the poses. So my favorite example of this is chair pose. I love chair pose. It's, if you don't know what it is, it's very typical where usually there's no chair or anything, but you're sitting down as if you're sitting in a chair. And this specific pose is amazing for glute strength, for quad strength, for calf strength. And not only that, but also endurance in those muscles, which are the same muscles you need strength and endurance in to walk and do these functional things that we've been talking about. But for some people, it makes you very unstable, or you're just not strong enough yet to not collapse down. So you can use a chair to do that. If that's still too challenging, you can actually bring it down to the floor and do a bridge pose to strengthen those muscles. Or you can even lay on your side and move your legs up into that pose as well. So there's so many different positions, from standing to sitting to being on your back, being on your stomach, laying on your side, and just picking each day what feels good to you. Some days you might be able to do the standing. Other days, maybe you're on the floor or you're sitting. So really being in tune with your body and what you can accomplish that day for your yoga poses. But yes, there's always a way to modify. Never think that, oh, I can't do yoga as a whole, or, oh, I can't do tree pose, I better not just try it all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I love the idea of adapting, right? There are always ways for us to adapt. And someone mentioned, excuse me, I'm so sorry. Dr. Mitzi's a little under the weather today, but someone mentioned in the chat about laughing yoga. So, I mean, there are all different types of ways we can do. And what are some other creative ways that you all may have encouraged people to exercise? I remember when the Wii was really popular, I used to tell people to get on their Wii. They had like a balancing ball and it would tell you if you were going to the right or to the left. Are there any other like creative ways that, you've told people, or creative exercises that are maybe a little outside of the box?
I'll tell you, at the beginnings of shutting down and sheltering in place, and we all, everybody got figured out what Zoom was and, started doing online workouts, we as fitness professionals had to get very, very creative. So we were using props in our home, like a broomstick. Because a lot of my husband does a lot with like unilateral training and trying to make people balance on both sides. And a lot of times people have trouble holding things over their head and making their lower body do something different. So we would use a broomstick. And then to make it even more challenging, we would put bags on the end of the broomstick. So it forces core stability. You have to hold it up and lock out over your head. And, maybe you'll be dusting the ceiling or something. I don't know if the broom is goes a little crazy. So we were using stairs. We came up using the kids' little toys to have something to step up on, or we would use the bottom step of our stair to act as like an aerobic riser. I'm a big advocate of getting outside. There is nothing better than vitamin D and good old oxygen that's just outside the trees. If it's not your allergy season, I know Dr. Mitzi has allergies, so she may not go outside for like 3 months. But
right, not from March to May. We skip that.
In Atlanta, you'll have pollen in your hair. But I love getting outside, moving around, and using your household book bags and household objects. Definitely recommend it.
Absolutely. Broomsticks with bags. Okay, don't try that at home, kids. Okay, only do that with a licensed professional. What about you, Dr. Gretchen?
Yeah, so I would say that even normally, I don't use that much equipment, if any, with my clients. If anything, it's just resistance bands or those resistance loops. There's definitely a time and place for it, and I love all those ideas. I took a mental note for later for myself that Lauren said. But I'm a really big advocate for, like, if you're doing laundry, stand, and if you have to take your laundry out of the washer or dryer, do a mini squat each time. Or you can do mini squats when you are reaching for something in the kitchen, whether it's in a cupboard or in the refrigerator or freezer. When you're brushing your teeth, you can practice some balance movements or some weight shifting movements. So I'm a huge advocate for doing things that you're already doing throughout the day, but maybe stop and do a few more. So another time, when you're done going to the bathroom, stand up and sit down 5 times. You're already there. Or, as I said, when you're brushing your teeth, shift your weight to the right and left, maybe 10 times each side. As you're going outside, lift your feet up more to get out of the threshold. So you're really lifting your legs with just more exaggerated movements. So, and all of that counts. Newer research is showing that doing your exercises throughout the day is just as effective as doing it all at once. So the days where we thought that exercise just meant squats and jumping jacks and lunges, and it has to be for an hour, those are long gone. It can be throughout the day, and it can be to whatever you can tolerate that day.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. And my favorite used to be heel raises because I was a little vain about my legs and my calves. So whenever I would stop and I'd be writing notes or talking to my nurse in the hall, I just start doing heel raises. But so, so I think that the key message here is that there are lots of different ways that we can fit movement into our day. And we have to look at it. And, I think the other thing is to find things that we like to do, like whether it's dancing or Zumba or yoga, things that help us, but also but to recognize that, it's taking out time for ourselves, right? That it's important, that it's not just a chore, but it's something that helps us throughout the day. And there's one other type of exercise that I'd like for us to touch on, which is swimming. So I recommend swimming for a lot of my patients, especially, because a lot of folks have balance difficulty and they may not be able to get on the treadmill. And, my concept as a exercise professional is, well, if you fall over in the water, it's water. You don't necessarily fall on the floor. So let's talk a little bit about the benefits of swimming, Lauren, in general, and then Dr. Gretchen kind of bring it to how it may benefit people living with MS.
Oh my goodness, swimming is so good for you. I wish I actually could do more of it, to be honest with you. I don't get in the pool nearly enough, but feeling your body in water and stretching out and swimming, that movement. I mean, good gracious, it's your full body. You're exercising your full body at your own speed. You're forcing yourself to hold up your own body weight. You're strengthening and lengthening out your muscles. Like, that's why swimmers literally are some of the people that are in the best shape. In my opinion, I think swimmers and boxers, they're in really, really good shape. They need every part of their body in order to execute the movement. So if you're able to get to a pool or get into, I even recommend water aerobics, to be honest with you too, Dr. Mitzi. That's good for some of our seniors, but it's also good for everybody. Like, to be able to bounce up and down and hold your body weight in water it's a great skill to learn. And you're going to be hitting muscles that you normally wouldn't hit in a gym or lifting any barbells or anything like that.
Love it. Yeah. So talk a little bit about aquatics therapy, and tell us a little bit about the benefits for MS, Dr. Gretchen.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate in having a pool where I can work with my clients with MS in, and it's amazing. Swimming in the general sense, as most people think of when you think of swimming, as Lauren was just saying, it requires range of motion in your knees, in your ankles, in your hips, in your shoulders. And that will help with mobility and with your posture. So just the range of motion and strength that swimming requires will carry over into those other things that we need throughout the day. However, I'm the biggest advocate for more of, as Lauren said, the water aerobics. I don't know that I don't call it that because I do it a little bit different, but walking forward and backwards and sideways in the water. Not only can it sometimes be a little bit easier because of the buoyancy, so you can lift your legs a little bit more and really get as much movement as possible, but it can be harder, especially if there's other people in the pool, because you're focusing on balance. There might be waves in there, even if there's just one other person, or even if it's just you. So I really like walking forward and backwards and sideways. You can even hold on to the edge and just practice marching or leg kicks or heel raises. Or my favorite exercise is a single step. So just practicing moving one leg forward and then one leg back while holding on. Again, it can be easier because of the buoyancy. And then ideally we'll carry over onto land so that when you walk on land, you just used your muscles way more than you potentially could have on land. So it's a more effective way to work your muscles.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. And so, let's just kind of, as we're wrapping up and getting toward the end, I'll remind everyone, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. I see a lot of folks are enjoying the information that we're receiving tonight. I know that I've got tons of exercise tips that I need to start doing, but let's give people some tips on ways that they can stay active, right? One of the biggest challenges, I think, especially now that outside is opening up again, is that everybody always says, I'm too busy to exercise. So let's give folks some tips to stay active, or ways that they can build their schedule around staying active. We'll start with Lauren.
So first things first is we have to change our mindset about exercise and fitness. There has to be a priority for you, just as much as the other things that we do on a day-to-day basis to keep ourselves functioning, to keep our households running. Our mindset has to be where, you know what, this is important for me and I need it to live. Right. So if that's important to you, then you'll carve out that 30 minutes. You will create space for it, and you'll allow yourself to create space for it. On my calendar, I have it blocked off, so no one can put a meeting on my calendar at that time. So I have my dedicated time. I have my dedicated space. I also recommend that you get somebody to hold you accountable, right? So an accountability buddy. I have a trainer. I'm a trainer, but I have a trainer, and so I have a meeting with him every whatever time. We're early, so 5 a.m. And I know, yes, girl, yes, yeah, yep, we're early.
Oof.
5 a.m. 5 a.m. So, and then I also I do a workout in a sauna and like a hot studio environment. So and that's great for my mental, because I get to like sweat, I get to detox. I'm in a room by myself, and I'm holding myself, because I know how I feel when I leave. I feel great. The endorphins are running. I'm in a routine. I feel like now I can reward myself with whatever I want, a nice healthy lunch, whatever the case may be. So I first want to say, guys, change your mindset. Get somebody to hold you accountable, even if they aren't with you, even if they aren't here. Just a calendar invite. Hey, did you go to do your Zumba today? Or did you do whatever today? Have that communication with somebody who will support you in your efforts. And I'm always going to recommend that you start slow with something that you enjoy. If you know you like to dance, I would recommend something like a Zumba, because it's dancing. If you know you hate lifting weights, I probably wouldn't recommend you start with that, because you're just going to hate it the whole time, right? Find something you enjoy and make it work for you.
Absolutely. I will say about accountability partners, my husband is my accountability partner, and he is rough. I mean, I get home and I'm tired and I want to take a nap and get in my little massage chair, and he's like, all right, let's go. We're going for a walk. So the other thing that I could say is, both of you talked a little bit earlier about setting goals. And so we are currently training for the MS Challenge Walk, which is a 50-mile walk in September. So we're doing 20 miles the first day, 20 miles the second day, and 10 miles the third day. So that probably is not the best thing to start with, but, it has definitely kept us, on target in terms of working out several times a week, trying to get in our long walk at least once a week, because we know that when we get to that walk, like, we want to at least make it through the first day, right? So kind of having some kind of goal, whether it's a 3K, a 5K, doing some type of race with your friends, even if you have to get on the, I call it the sag wagon, and, get ridden to the end, kind of working towards some type of activity or something can sometimes be a fun goal as well. What about you, Dr. Gretchen?
I would say first and foremost that the things that Lauren said are number one. If your mindset isn't in it, if you're not having fun, if you don't have that support system, you won't stay consistent. So write down what Lauren said and find those things first. But also keep in mind everything we've been talking about thus far. Exercise doesn't have to mean an hour or even 30 minutes. So if there's something that you can do that's fun and you enjoy it, or maybe it's not even fun, but you can get yourself to do it, even if it's just 10 minutes, great. Or 15 or 20 minutes, awesome. How consistent can you stay with that? And also, as we've mentioned, retraining your brain to think about exercise in a new way. One of my favorite things lately is one of those I can't ever remember what they're actually called. I call them the mini exercise bike. And there's one that you can put on the ground, but you can also put it on a countertop. So you can use your arms to row forward or bike backwards. You can use your legs. That counts as exercise too. It's great if you can get outdoors, but if for whatever reason, if that's not possible, there are things like that. Or if you do like weightlifting, you can do it on your couch. Grab some 2-pounders and do some bicep curls. So you can exercise in your home in a way that you enjoy, probably more likely than what you've ever thought possible before. So again, finding that thing and understanding that it can be a shorter amount of time and it can be something unconventional. It doesn't have to be what you've thought of as exercise in the past.
I love it. I love it. Such amazing tips and great advice. The other thing I would say is take advantage of technology. There's so many different apps out there, and I'm not going to name any names. I don't want any trouble. But there's so many different apps out there with yoga exercises. I mean, and then YouTube is your friend, right? There's all kind of free content on YouTube, but I think, there's been so much that's been said tonight. I hope those who watched it will go back and watch it again. And for those who are watching the replay, we've got some really great gems that Lauren and Dr. Gretchen have given us tonight. So I am so grateful for you all coming and joining me on Brain Chat and giving us all this wonderful wisdom about ways that we can incorporate health and exercise and movement into our everyday lives. I think some of the key things we talked about today are getting that mindset together, kind of reframing the way that we think about exercise. And then we talked about some specific types of exercises like yoga and swimming that can be really helpful for people with MS. But the key is find something that you like to do and start there, and then continue to go and to grow and to build on that. So thank you all so much for tuning in. I also want to thank our new sponsor, Genentech, our first sponsor for Brain Chat. So we are moving on and moving up. So thank you guys so much for your time this evening. I hope you have a wonderful night, and we will see you in 2 weeks for our next episode about cannabis. All right. We will see you then. And thank you for joining us for Brain Chat. Good night.